edition of Beyond the Arc. I'm John Gonzalez alongside Sam Quinn from CBSSports.com. Game one of the Eastern Conference Finals was a banger, Sam. The Pacers come from behind. They were down 17. They're down 14 with 2.5 minutes left. They end up winning this 138-135 in overtime. I'm going to do it on behalf of Tyrese Haliburton, Reggie Miller, and Pacers fans everywhere. Tyrese Haliburton hit what he thought was the game-winning three at the end of regulation. Turned out to be a two because his foot was on the line. So that tied it at 125 all. They go to overtime. It was back and forth the entire time, and the Pacers end up pulling this out. And if you are the Knicks, you got to be kicking yourself.
Have we ever seen an homage to two historic moments in NBA history in a single play? Because we not only got the choke from Haliburton, we got the Kevin Durant shoe too big as well, like all in one play. I'm not going to lie. I think we've both been in media long enough to admit this. Like when you get to the last 2-3 minutes and the score is double digits, on some level, you're kind of thinking ahead and you're thinking like, okay, do I have a story that I want to write? Is there an angle that I want to hit? And you aren't thinking as granularly. You're not thinking like, oh, he kind of rushed that shot, or oh no, Nesmith made another one. And then all of a sudden you look, and I didn't really start to take it seriously until it got down to 5. And then I was like, oh no, this is happening. And then you start to remember what happened in the first 2 rounds where Indiana did this against Milwaukee and Cleveland too.
Yeah, now the Pacers have pulled it off again. And you mentioned Aaron Nesmith. He goes for 30. He had 8 of 9 3-pointers tonight. He had a massive fourth quarter, 30 points in the game, 19 points in the fourth. He could not miss. Talk about channeling Reggie Miller. He was draining threes, and that was a major reason why they ended up mounting that comeback. And then all of a sudden, here comes Tyrese Haliburton, who Mr. Clutch. I thought Haliburton had made a mistake by dribbling out and trying to get the game-winning 3. And then it turns out to be a 2 anyway. He kind of got bailed out on the choke sign there a little bit because it was a premature choke sign, but it ended up being the right call just a little bit early. But man, Nesmith was unconscious in the fourth quarter.
I want to go back to Haliburton backing the ball out. Can we just talk about the confidence and the state of mind that it takes to do that? Because when there's so little time on the clock, I just your instinct, and it wouldn't have worked, mind you, is to just go to the basket and flail and try to get a whistle. But with Mitchell Robinson right there in front of him, he just had no chance at the rim. I can't help think about the overrated vote that the players had that looks so. Can they do a revote before game 2 on Friday? Just to have that presence of mind to think, oh, I have no chance with Mitchell Robinson here. We're also on the road, so just typically you're thinking when you're on the road, you'd rather take the 3 for the win than the 2 for the tie and play overtime on the road. That presence of mind, not many players have that and the confidence it takes to do that. That is a special moment by Haliburton, even if it almost went very, very wrong. And the moment he did the choke sign and you saw the score, I thought it was over. I didn't realize it was a 2 at first. I saw 125 on the scoreboard and I just assumed, oh, they got it wrong. And then all of a sudden you see the replay and it's, oh no, that's a 2. Despite how badly that could have gone, the basketball IQ it took to even try that was just off of the charts.
Yeah, a couple of things there. First, I want to thank everybody who's joining us live on YouTube. I want to encourage everybody to hit the like button, subscribe, leave a comment. We'll throw it up on the show. We've got one right here from Abby saying, man, what a wild game. Luckiest shot I've ever seen from Haliburton, hitting that tying bucket. Abby, did you miss the previous round, man, when he hit almost the exact same shot against the Cavaliers on a step back? That's just I think it's exactly what Sam just said, that it's real confidence from Haliburton that he can hit those shots. Now, yes, I think you're right, Sam, that he ended up, at first I was I thought it was a bad idea for him to dribble it back out. But you're right that Mitchell Robinson closed off the lane and probably Haliburton thought, okay, well, the 3-point line's on guard. Now I'm going to do what I did in the previous round and just jack one up there. It was against the Cavs, right? Or am I misremembering and it was against the Bucks? He hit one of those where he dribbled it out and threw up a 3.
That was the Cavs one, yeah.
It was the Cavs, right. Okay. The playoffs are 17 months long, Sam. I'm glad that you're here to help remind me here. We got another comment here from Yossi. Imagine trading this guy to end your playoff drought. I mean,
Kings can't be having fun watching this.
no, they cannot be having fun. I'm glad you also brought up the Athletic piece about the most overrated poll. They do it every year. There are 450 players in the NBA. 73 of them were respondents on the most overrated. It's not a huge sample size. I had John Henson on the program, former Buck John Henson, who now works with us at CBSSports.com, and he came on with, or at CBS Sports Network rather. And he came on with me and we were talking about this thing. And he's like, yeah, you get guys who only 73 players, he was saying, was not a big sample size. And it could be just like some guys just don't like him personally, right? And like just they want to throw him a vote. And there are moments when Haliburton clearly gets under people's skin, but I love it. I love that he was in the Garden. I mean, like, who's the bigger foil in the Garden right now, or the more hated person? Is it Trae Young or Tyrese Haliburton?
Oh, it's Haliburton by a mile. Trae did it in the first round. Like, that's nothing, right? Like, and this is 2 years in a row that Haliburton's played against the Knicks. He did the Dame time against the Bucks. He did the joke at Madison Square Garden. Like, I like when the NBA has characters. And, like, look, I think we can be realistic. I don't think that we think Haliburton is good enough for this. But we talk about Anthony Edwards as the future face of the league all the time because he's so authentic and he's so fun. And having that with Haliburton as well, and having both of those guys in the conference finals, it just injects so much personality into this late stage of the playoffs. Like, this is great. This is so much fun.
They had a WWE event. I forget if it was SmackDown or Raw at MSG, where Haliburton came out with Logan Paul, and Jalen Brunson came out with whoever Logan Paul was fighting that night. And the pop that Tyrese Haliburton got for playing the heel was massive. He leans into it, which, again, I'm with you. I love characters. I love storyline. Reggie Miller is an all-time great villain in New York. Still to this day, they love to chant F you, Reggie. And Reggie leans into it. And now it's gotten to the point where it's almost turned to the point where they love to hate on Reggie, rather than back in the 90s when Reggie was killing them and throwing up the OG choke sign, where they just hating him, right? I mean, like, he was a villain that they hated. Now he's a villain that they love. So Haliburton, what stones to dribble that out and fire that up. Again, the Pacers end up winning this one in overtime. Nesmith was unconscious. Haliburton was fantastic. Clutch again, huge 3-pointers. All the way, Obi Toppin had some big dunks in the third quarter, or in overtime rather. And just a massive win for the Pacers on the road. Where were you pre this series tipping off? I had the Pacers in 6. What did you do?
I had Knicks in 7. It was a toss-up. I went with home court advantage and who I thought was the best player in Brunson. I mean, Jalen Brunson was great tonight, and I think that's awesome. Worth talking about for the rest of this series. And Haliburton was great, too. We might have, like, a real developing rivalry on our hands here, not only between two teams with all this history, but two guys at the same position who couldn't play more differently. And, like, I think quietly it's probably going to get lost given all of the insanity. I think one of the things that swung this game was that Jalen Brunson had 5 fouls for so long. I think he picks up the 5th foul in the third quarter, or it might have been early in the fourth. Now, they play really well during that stretch where he goes to the bench, where OG has the 5-0 run and they get the 2 3-shot fouls. But once Jalen comes back in, especially in overtime, they're just going at him over and over and over again because they know he can't foul out. Because if he does, the Knicks have no way of generating offense. So Brunson, in effect, can't play defense. And that's kind of how Indiana scored so easily in overtime. That was such a fascinating dichotomy between those two guys at the same position, because the Knicks were also going at Haliburton. And, like, Haliburton kind of held up a little bit. Now, they scored 135 points, so defense wasn't super prominent in this game. But the Pacers got just a little bit more out of Haliburton than the Knicks could out of 5 foul Brunson. So I mean,
there wasn't a ton of defense in this game, but you know what was interesting about this? Pacers in 7 for Abby. All right, good for Abby there. You're one more game ahead of me there. When Brunson picked up his 5th, it was in the fourth quarter. He picked up his 3rd foul in the third quarter. He was just a fouling machine. That's when they ended up losing all out on their challenges, which I thought Thibs mismanaged that. But he picks up his 5th foul in the fourth quarter. And interestingly, this is like such a topsy-turvy upside down game, Sam, in the fourth quarter, because Jalen Brunson goes out with his 5th foul in the fourth quarter and the Knicks go on a 14-0 run. And you think that's it. This is ball game. And they open it up to 17. And then, as I mentioned, it was 14 with what, 2.5 minutes left. And you think, like, to your point about when, as sports writers, sports media, I used to like have my, everybody starts writing their column. You're thinking about things that you're doing. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh no, I got to scrap this entire thing. But for them to open up a lead like that with Jalen Brunson on the bench, I thought there's no way that the Pacers are mounting a comeback, because Brunson's going to come back in. And then all of a sudden Nesmith just could not miss. And then you've got the Haliburton shot at the end and you're going to overtime. And I think that the Knicks were really reeling. On the one hand, Haliburton throwing up the choke sign, maybe they were like, okay, you know, that was premature or whatever. But I think if you're the Knicks and you blow that lead mentally, that is a huge blow.
100%. Now, I think even before the shot went in, they did a lot of things that made me kind of think they deserved to lose this game, right?
Sure.
There was the Josh Hart stumble on the inbound, where it felt a lot to me like that Cleveland inbound steal in game 2 that swung that game of that series. There was the Brunson bounce, not even quite a pass, where he got it. He forced himself into the air early, had nowhere to go. He just kind of bounced it, and thankfully it ended up with OG Anunoby. They made a lot of mistakes in this game that, or at least down the stretch, that kind of made me feel like they deserve it. And once that ball that Haliburton shot hits the rim and goes up, I'm like, oh, wow, they've escaped. And then lo and behold, no, it doesn't. I also, you bring up Tom Thibodeau, and like,
yeah,
I know I'm going to go way, way back to the beginning of the game. I know that feels like it was 7 hours ago.
I think it was.
The Pacers make their first 9 shots in this game, and it's like almost all on drop coverage against Miles Turner. What are you thinking, Thibs? Like, what does Miles Turner want to do? He does not want to drive. He doesn't want to post up. He wants to stand still and take jumpers, and that's exactly what you gave him. And I felt so bad for Karl-Anthony Towns, who played so well on so many levels. But I feel like one of the enduring images of this game was in that first quarter when Turner was just making shot after shot after shot. And Towns was like 5-10 feet away from the play. And that's not on him. That's just bad game planning by Thibs. The challenge on Jalen Brunson's third foul, like, that was ridiculous. Of course that was a foul. Now you're without a challenge for the rest of the game? Like, I thought that game was really mismanaged by Thibs. I thought they clearly kind of ran out of gas at the end. And then they just sort of experienced the down huge in the second half thing on the other side when they had the lead against Boston. What did Boston do that helped the Knicks get back into that series? They took a bunch of dumb threes and they turned the ball over. The Knicks in that exact situation down the stretch of those final few minutes, it felt like they were doing the same things that they just beaten the Celtics who were doing.
Yeah, all the things that you just flagged on Thibs, I think, are right. The drop coverage, they were calling it out on the early drop coverage against Miles Turner. They were calling it out on the broadcast. Everybody was like, what are you doing? And then that, I thought it was really, really important, and it's going to be overlooked. But what you were talking about when he decides to challenge the third foul on Jalen Brunson in the third quarter against Aaron Nesmith, like, that's the third foul. Yes, Jalen Brunson had gotten in foul trouble in the previous series against the Celtics, but it's a third foul, and it's not a critical foul, and it's not a critical moment in the game. And you want to be able to have your challenges late in the game, like, for example, the Indiana Pacers had late in the game when several critical plays ended up going their way because they still had challenges, and Thibs nuked his challenges in the third quarter. And I just thought, like, you know, leave it alone. Let Brunson have his third. You have to be like the adult. Every player likes to do the review symbol, right? Everybody, oh, I never committed a foul in my life. Every time the ball goes out of bounds, it's off the other guy. You know, I should have been fouled on that. Review. And like, sometimes you got to be the adult in the room and be like, no, this is not the moment for it. And Rick Carlisle tonight, I thought, outcoached Tom Thibodeau. And it's just something to monitor as we go forward here. All right, let's take a quick break. And then on the other side, we will continue with what was a spectacular first game of the Eastern Conference Finals. Pacers win it by 3 in overtime. We'll talk a little bit more about it on the other side. This is Beyond the Arc. All right, welcome back to Beyond the Arc. I want to thank everybody for joining us live on YouTube following game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Just hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, leave us a comment. If you leave us a comment, we'll throw it up here on the show, and Sam and I will talk about it. Pacers steal game 1, Sam, by 3 in overtime. You mentioned that there was no defense in this game. I didn't care. It was super fun. 138, 135. Yes, and please, especially after that Western Conference rock fight that we had for a lot of last night that was not good. And you and I were like, man, that was kind of a boring game. This game had it all. It was fantastic. For until the fourth quarter, again, oddly, there was no team had a double-digit lead. And then all of a sudden the double-digit lead gets opened up by the Knicks, and you think that they're going to win it going away. They're up 17, and then they're up 14 with 2.5 minutes left, and then they just tricked off this game. If you are Tom Thibodeau, if you are Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, who I thought played pretty well, although, he missed some free throws. Well, he missed one free throw with 14 seconds left in the fourth quarter. Somebody else for the Knicks missed a free throw too, that allowed them to get back.
One, I think.
Who was it? It was OG.
I think OG missed one, yeah.
Yeah, so some critical free throws there. Like, generally this is Bill's department, but I'm going to have you play this. The vibes. How do you feel the vibes are going into the locker room after you had it? If you had just made your free throws even in the fourth quarter, you probably win this game. And instead they miss a couple. They open the door. Nesmith makes some major threes. We talked about Haliburton, early choke sign. He thinks it's a 3. It's a 2 though, but they could have closed it out even though they let the Pacers get back into it. And now you're going into game 2 going, man, we had that.
I mean, look, of course, the vibes are not going to be great, right? Like, we can just kind of state that pretty empirically. We all watched what happened. I think there's a lot here that the Knicks can feel pretty good about. I think, like, outside of the chaos of the last few minutes, they mostly outplayed the Pacers, right? Like, we came into this series thinking Indiana has no chance of defending Brunson because they didn't last year, and that's mostly what happened, right? Towns was spectacular on offense. And I think most importantly, Towns was making threes. He made 4 threes in this game. He made 3 in the entire Boston series.
Yeah.
I was really nervous that Towns had hurt his hand in such a way that the jumper was going to be gone the rest of the playoffs. This was pretty encouraging. Those Mitchell Robinson minutes, and especially when Mitch and Towns played together, that really posed some problems for Indiana on the glass. Like, I remember at one point on the broadcast, hearing Reggie Miller suggest that Indiana face guard Mitchell Robinson just to keep him off of the glass. Like, that's how bad it got. Like, that's a real advantage and a weapon that they didn't have last year because your team hurt Mitchell Robinson. I'm not going to say intentionally, but it was a dirty play. There was stuff to like here for the Knicks. I don't think Indiana can depend on Aaron Nesmith doing that twice in a row. So I think you kind of have to just dust yourself off and say, like, take a deep breath. Indiana has lost playoff games at home, I think, in both rounds, or at least they lost at home against Cleveland, and they lost game 3 to Milwaukee. I guess that was in Milwaukee. But the Pacers are not impenetrable in Indiana. You're at home on Friday night.
You're
it's
really good.
Be a great crowd. It's game 1 out of 7.
Yeah. I mean, look, they've been really good in Indiana. Impenetrable, no, but very good in Indiana. I just want to flag and call attention to the graphic that we have on screen here live on YouTube. The largest comeback wins in the final minute of fourth quarter and overtime in playoff history. 3 of 4 of them, Sam, are by the Pacers this season. We talked about it. They were down by 7 in the final minute against Milwaukee. In the first series, they won. They were down by 7 in the second series at Cleveland and won. Tonight, they were down by 9 in the final minute in the first game at MSG with the crowd roaring, everybody having a good time, the bing bong vibes going left and right, and everybody having a blast. And then all of a sudden, here come the Pacers again. I just like this is often hard to quantify, although we do have a clutch player of the year who's Jalen Brunson. But just the ability to not get rattled late in games and to keep at it, because that could have been very easy for not just like down 9 in the final minute, but as I had mentioned, down 14 with 2.5 minutes left. There are some coaches who just wave the white flag. Let's get our starters out. We don't necessarily need to keep pushing here. And instead, the Pacers are the opposite. Rick Carlisle, I think is like really good about this, knowing when to keep his guys in, feeling it out, when to take them out. And this was a game that could have gone the other way. Instead, like they just kept chipping. Part of it, obviously was Nesmith was hot, and you don't want to take the hot hand off the floor. But just still, the idea that the Pacers are like never say die in these playoffs is just really impressive.
Well, a lot of that is the playing style for Indiana. They're so fast and they're so deep and they're so well conditioned that they can sort of assume, even if we're down 10 with 4 minutes to go, we have an advantage in these situations. And the Knicks felt like all season long, and clearly against Boston, that they were the team that had the advantage in that situation. They were visibly tired at the end. And I think that really manifested in a couple of the big plays, like some of those inbounds. They clearly just didn't have any gas in the tank, right? There was the, when they were down 1 in overtime and the Pacers got that dunk to Obi Toppin, there was nobody like really getting in his way. It was an easy inbound. You compare that to the Knicks inbounding the ball, and they turn it over because Nembhard races across the floor to bat the ball off of Brunson's hand. Like, one of those teams played significantly harder down the stretch than the other, and you never say that about a Tom Thibodeau team, right? Like, the Knicks are never the team that get out-efforted, out-conditioned, and they were in game 1.
Yeah, really. I mean, really impressive. Who else do we need to call out? Anything else here jump out from you?
We got to talk about Obi coming back to Madison Square Garden as a bench guy, playing overtime, playing very well, having what was ultimately the game-sealing dunk. And by the way, he got fouled on that too, and they didn't call it. Obi Toppin, like, what a night for him.
Yeah, Obi Toppin was good. Although, like in the game broadcast, I kept wondering what Stan Van Gundy was talking about a couple times, where he's like, man, like the Pacers got to keep Mitchell Robinson off the offensive glass. They're getting killed on the glass. I'm like, yeah, okay. Mitchell Robinson has grabbed some offensive rebounds, but the disparity overall as a team was like pretty close on the rebounding. The Knicks, at least in regulation, ended up winning the points in the paint, but like the bench unit for Indiana scored more than the bench unit for the Knicks. And they were spending the entire broadcast talking about how awesome the Knicks bench was. And I'm like, what am I missing here?
The Knicks don't have a bench. They have 2 guys. They have 2.5 guys because Payne plays a little bit, but like they don't have a bench. They have McBride and Robinson, whereas the Pacers go 10 deep, right? And there were some moments in this game where I thought, maybe we've seen enough of Thomas Bryant. Like, maybe we don't go back to him. I didn't think Ben Shepherd looked great when he was on the floor, although ironically, I think he had the best plus-minus in the game on either team. That's something that Indiana has, where everybody who steps on the floor for them does have something unique to contribute. And like, again, we got so caught up in the ending because of how exciting it was. Remember TJ McConnell in the second quarter playing really, really well?
Sure.
That ends up being really important in a game that goes to overtime. Everybody that the Pacers have, nobody on the Pacers is coming in just to get somebody rest. Every player that they use presents a different sort of weapon, a different sort of mismatch, a different sort of unique shot or skill or something that poses a problem for the other team. And that really manifested not only in this game, but like throughout the entire playoffs. I thought Mathurin, like the stats aren't going to say that Mathurin did all that much. I thought he was really good doing a lot of the instigator stuff that he did against Cleveland to get in New York's head here.
Yeah, Matt. I mean, I'm with you. I think that their supporting cast is considerably better. Although Mitchell Robinson and Deuce have some pretty high upside, but it really is. And apologies to producer Aaron, who's in our private chat here, saying that Sam's campaign erasure will not
10
stand.
minutes.
Yeah, campaign is not even giving him a half a player. Sam, I thought was generous by you. So that was not.
I'll say this: their season might have ended if not for what he did in Game 1 against Detroit. So actually, that is a little bit of erasure. You're right, producer Aaron. I retract that. The Knicks have 8 players.
Okay, there you go. Huge win for the Indiana Pacers tonight. It looked like it was going to go the other way for the Knicks. We'll see how the Knicks respond in game 2. But for now, the Pacers are up 1-0 in the series. And I'm going to guess they're not dancing out on 7th Avenue tonight. No bing bong and no pulling Timothy Chalamet out of a car. No obnoxious Instagram posts. Although maybe still that. But a brutal loss for the Knicks at home. We'll see how they respond in game 2. I think that's going to do it for us for now. Make sure to go and read everything that Sam. I assume you're going to go off and write about this now.
I haven't even thought of an angle yet. I guess I will. What do you say after a game like that?
I mean, you got to start here, buddy.
How can you type out the gesture? Can my headline be an emoji?
It's hard for you to type with your hands around your neck. Go and read Sam on cbssports.com. I want to thank everybody again for joining us live on YouTube. One final time, hit that like button, subscribe, and leave us a comment. We'll be going live as the playoffs continue. Sam joins me regularly after these games. But for now, for Sam Quinn, from CBSSports.com. I'm John Gonzalez. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We're back on CBS Sports Network, Bill and I, on Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern, to discuss Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals and preview Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals. So come and join us for that. Until then, thanks again.